Okay. All right. Looks like we're live now. Welcome everybody to Sweetcast. We've got 2 nights in a row with creator interviews, and it's been fun to have pros on. Billy Tucci is one of the guys that I really respect out there doing crowdfunding. So welcome, Billy, to the stream.
Welcome, my friend. I'm just sitting here redrawing 4 pages. This is it. I'm not going down that rabbit hole like I did with Return of the Warrior, where we ended up redrawing 25 pages and recoloring them.
Oh my gosh!
But this is just 4. I had it all done, and been looking at these 2 pages, and we had a writers meeting with my writer Stephen Peros, who's taken over to script the book. He's just amazing, and I think we could fix this. And we were lacking that mother's thing because, as you may or may not know, people out there is that Return of the Warrior takes place 20 years after the last She comic, and Anna's now in her 40s. She's a single mother raising her teenage daughter Hotaru, and Hotaru's been kidnapped. So we had the final battle, and just that urgency of a mother, like her primary motivation should be to keep her daughter safe and save her daughter. Yeah. And we kind of missed it a little bit in the first pages. So I'm like, you know what? I can redraw this. So we got the time. So the book's going to press Christmas time. We're going to get the proofs done at Christmas. They shut down. And then in early January, we're going to go to press with it.
That's really fast.
Yeah. We're way ahead.
That's great.
Yeah. COVID, COVID did not, notwithstanding. But that's my goal now to do from this book. This book is almost complete. We have 20 pages colored already. It's a 52. Well, now it's a 56 page book because we just hit our first stretch goal. Oh wow! Look at that, we went up. Wow, we were like just over 51 earlier when I looked at it an hour or so ago. Nice. So great, 2 hours ago. Oh, fantastic! Thank you guys.
That's cool to see it moving.
Yeah. My wife checks it all the time. I don't. I'm like, my goal is to beat what we did last time. That's my goal. But the last campaign was a year. From final fulfillment to launch, and this book is going to be 3 months because we have it slated for April release, April fulfillment, but we want to ship it in February. Start February and get it done early March, and then launch our omnibus edition, our Way of the Warrior omnibus edition, the 464 page book. So
wow, nice. Yeah. I think it's interesting to see. Here's my guess, and I'm curious to see if this is true or not, but I think you will get more backers in a shorter period of time because it's going to print so soon. I think there are a lot of people that wait until it's about to go to print. That's my guess. I mean, I could be wrong, but looks like you're off to a strong start. Are you planning on extending the campaign halfway through? Do the old?
Nope. Okay. No, we're just going with this one. We're going with this. We might do. We had over 1,000 backers on Kickstarter and last time with Return of the Warrior, because we'd done Kickstarter first. And then, talking to Ethan and Richard C. Meyer, so like, you got to do Indiegogo, And I love Indiegogo. I love the community. I love that, Indiegogo actually follows me. Their official Twitter follows me on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And they've reached out to us, but we're getting a lot of pushback, as it is with Indiegogo people too, that they only back on Kickstarter. So here's my wife, and she doesn't understand all what's going on. She doesn't really care about it either.
Right.
So she's like, you've got 1,000, over 1,000 people. I'm getting emails every day from people asking when is it going to go on Kickstarter. So I think we're going to do this. And once this ends, or right near the end of this campaign, we might launch a quick Kickstarter, because again, over 1,000 of them, how can I say no?
Right.
And and regardless of any personal feelings I may have about one platform or the other, it's business.
Right.
And if you have customers that only like to shop at Walmart and they don't like to shop at Target, well, I want my books in Walmart and Target.
Right. Have your product there. Yeah. This is a discussion I've had. I don't know. Do you know Jason Brubaker? You ever talked to him?
Yeah.
Great guy. Really smart on crowdfunding. But we've had this discussion too. And that's that already cultivated somewhat of an audience on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And so it is hard because you have to, then it's another sell. It's a barrier to get them to move over. Whereas someone like me, I started on Indiegogo. So, it's just a lot easier that way because no one's expecting Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I love Indiegogo anyway. So it does simplify things in that matter. But I think that, I mean, that's totally understandable. I totally I get what you're doing. But you're off to a good start here. So 25 days left. Was this a 30-day campaign? Has it been?
It's 30-day campaign 30 we're doing. And again, for the first 5 days, 4.5 days, I'm happy as heck. And I want to thank you and Mandy and Ethan and Dan Fraga and everyone who's reached out to say that I can come on their shows. So thank you, because I'm so used to, as we were talking about earlier in the pre-show, I'm so used to having people on our show and promoting other people's books,
right?
That it gets kind of weird. I don't want to talk about my book, but you really do. And now I got, it's a lot, right? It's a lot at stake.
I know. I have to every once in a while put out that tweet, like, guys, I love helping people. I love promoting books, but I am in promotion for me right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so for people watching, well, first and foremost, back can you get the first volume here as well?
Yes, there's actually what it is right now is She Return of the Warrior, I believe, is an add-on, but Deborah is going to the hardcover. That's all we have left. All the soft covers, all the variants that we had done, they're all gone. There may be a handful of them. Plus, we had, George Perez did a cover, Amanda Connor, Connie Valentine. So we want to send them a lot of books for their own books too.
Yeah.
So we have, this should be the hardcover though. That might be it. Yeah, there's a hardcover edition because that's all we have left. They just went, and then with COVID, by the time when we ordered the books in, June, we ordered the books. Our printer is the ones it's API who prints all of the yearbooks.
Yeah.
Justin and stuff like that.
They're my printer too.
Yeah, they push that, and they're great. They are great. Rob and Joseph are just fantastic to us. But when when you're printing millions of copies of these other books, sometimes our little books can get pushed to the back. And it did. But because the campaign was still going, we had ordered books from our June numbers, and we ordered a little. Obviously, you do overs, but we didn't expect the overs to come in. Like I announced, we were closing the campaign this month. And in the first, 2 weeks of November, we got over 100 new backers. And some of those books were still on was still available. So we had to,
it's a good problem.
Yeah, it is.
but it is a problem though. Yeah, I get it. I run into the same thing with Downcast in that I didn't overprint enough. And so Downcast won. So it's like, it's put me into a little bit of a situation because I'm planning on doing another book.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, we'll figure it out. But it is a good problem. It's kind of exciting if you sit back and think about it, how many people are getting into She for the first time.
Yeah. And that's why it was difficult again, and I know you're going to give me your thoughts on the book because I want to hear, people I admire, people I respect. I want to hear their thoughts on the book, their reviews, or what we can do to improve it. But it's tough in 48 pages of story to tell a story that hasn't been told in 15 years, 15 years, but a story that's really 20 years removed from the last book.
Yeah.
So and now Anna Ishikawa, as I said, my character, she's a single mother. That's our special cover. We always have to do the classic She cover. She's in her 40s. She's got she's a single mother raising her teenage daughter. And there's a lot of catching up to do, but also, and you know how it is to get people who have never read She before to be able to jump right in and to understand it and pick up the story. And that's Return of the Warrior. Now with Haikyō, this is the sequel. So now we're really just ramping it up. We're going in overdrive with it. A lot of action, battles, intrigue, ghosts, horror, all this stuff. And if you scroll through the page, there's Hotaru, Anna's daughter, and she's no shrinking violet. So she fights.
Yeah.
And she's a badass. She's a little badass. And of course, having fun with this is the first time ever having Anna drive a car that I've shown in the comics, and she's racing to get home to her daughter of course, with our arch enemy Masahiro Arashi, who, you know, basically you think that Hotaru and his daughter, which means Firefly, Hotaru was kidnapped by the evil Dr. Blevins. However, is that really the case? Or is Blevins kidnapped? Did he kidnap Hotaru to protect her? And the real villain is, you know, the manipulative Masahiro Arashi, who is Anna's lifetime, you know, antagonist. And it's a lot of fun. And it all culminates at Manhattan's Roosevelt Island, New York City's Roosevelt Island, which is an island off the coast. And I was on Mandy's stream, and I can share it. I could share my screen and show you where it is.
Sure, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Let me let's see if I have the ruins. Here it is. Here's the ruins.
Yeah.
I'll put it here. Let me share my screen. Give me a second, brother.
You're good. Yeah, and I did read it while you're getting that ready. I gotta say, I haven't read. This is my confession. I haven't read any of the original She comics.
Oh, well, you're a young man.
I know of. I've got. See right here. I don't know if you see that. I've got a hero click.
Hey, yeah, that's She. I got one. I got them up there. Oh, that's cool.
I have had that for years, and so it was cool to be like, wait, Billy Tucci. He's the guy that did She, and then just drawing the connections and everything. So I loved that. That's my little connection there.
Is she good? Is she good? Was she a good hero click? Do you remember? Or did
she wasn't that good. Oh. I'll admit it. As far as the game goes, but the figure's great. No, don't worry about it. The figure's great. And
no, we all can't be queens. Sometimes you need a pawn, right? To win
I know. So, I know. You gotta. It's always Superman is OP. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm just looking at the chat and I'm seeing me posting like what's going on here? And there's a clone Clint Stoker.
Oh, geez, look at that. Yes, you know, it really hobos are people too. And you know, going to the Big Rock Candy Mountain. You know, that old Mitch Miller song from "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, here we are. So the entire film, it feels like a film to me. Takes place, ends up at Roosevelt Island. And if you look, if this will share, these are the ruins at Roosevelt Island. Now, Roosevelt Island is an island right off of Manhattan, a couple of 100 yards off of Manhattan, and it's. If I go to the maps, I could probably find it. And there is a smallpox hospital there. And it's this decrepit smallpox hospital, the ruins of this massive smallpox hospital on this island that is supposed to be haunted. All the people that died of smallpox. Beneath it are these catacombs. And our entire story culminates here with a massive battle. And that's what means the ruins.
I think I've seen this on an episode of like Ghost Adventurers.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So
that's awesome.
All these really cool things. And if you look, it's not great of a map, but the place is just glorious. And I mean, it's just look at it. It's just terrifying. And I mean, here's a massive shot of it. And it's now this haunted, decrepit thing, and that's where the battle takes. Look at this. Look how cool that is. I think if I click on it, I might lose it. Yeah, I don't. I'm not able to share that, but just a fun, you know, ending and a lot of action, and we've got ghosts involved and a lot of samurai action, a lot of fun. It's something cool, so I love it. It's to me, like I said, it's like a film. It moves like a film. Yeah, and it's just great to be, you know, holy She snatch face said.
Well, it's fun. I'm gonna just a little bit about the book. So I read it with high hopes. Why? Because the whole samurai fighting, like the action fighting in a comic, to me, that is fun. And that's a little something I had an appetite for. And so it actually came at the right time. But I hadn't read the original She books. And this, I felt like it was a good jumping on point. I'm not trying to be a shill here or anything. But I did genuinely enjoy this book. I said to Billy before, this was one of the better crowdfunded books that I've seen out there. The art is amazing. But even just talking about the story, and I'm a writer, I think the story was really interesting. I saw that you had the skeleton. I don't want to give away too much, but I think this was in your campaign. The death. I have that right. Yeah, there we go.
Or Ichiro.
Yeah.
Death by Shibari. Shibari is the tying of knots.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
That?
It's like a
Oh, man.
they use it if you go back to the campaign. We can do that later, but the Japanese use that to tie up corpses initially to test swords and also prisoners to test swords, and they would see the strength of a sword or new swords, and they would chop up cadavers or captured prisoners and all, and it's turned into this. Now it's just like fetishy thing or whatever that's going on in New Japan, in modern day Japan and stuff. But we have the Shibari plays a big part. Thank you.
Yeah.
It plays a major part in the ruins in the story, and it's just another cool thing. That I love discovering things because I learned about Shibari maybe while we were developing this book, and it's cool to share that with other people. These authentic bits of history and lore, and traditions, and whether how horrific they are or not. Because, as you know, the Japanese are probably the most refined society the world has ever known. But they're also amongst the most violent. These are people that make eating, or serving tea into an art form. But then again, they also concocted up until the early 20th century, and I'm sure the Japanese soldiers did it too. And the brutality of the Japanese soldiers in World War II. Yeah. Is like war is war to them. It's total war, and there's no quarter given. And they had women warriors and priests that were warriors, which are the Sohei, which Anna comes from. And and the Sohei warriors weren't really priests at all, but they were samurai who were ordained as priests to fill the ranks of the temples. And they were these fierce warriors using the naginata, as you see Anna uses, and they had these flowing white cowls, and just really cool history. And now with the Shi story is that once they were abolished, the Sohei and the samurai were abolished, they partook in this shadow war that's existed for 400 years now. And the shadow war, instead of taking place on these great plains of Japan, now takes place in corporate boardrooms and in the arts and in entertainment and business and things like that. So it's really cool. It's fun to do it, and then it's fun to bring out the samurai stuff, especially at again, if you scroll up, you'll see the Blevins' lair, or is it? And you see Anna's wearing the white armor as they're on Roosevelt Island, and there's Masahiro Arashi standing behind her. I don't know if I'd let him stand behind her. But they're going to do battle to rescue her daughter. Yeah. Or are they? So
that's
beautiful
cool.
Colors by Brian Miller. And again, all of my art, except for now 4 pages that I'm working on now, and they'll be done this week by Monday, is done. All my pencils are done. All the word balloons are done. We have to finish the finishes. Gardenio Lima is my finisher, I guess, if you will. He's a far better artist than me, but he's sort of like my inker without inks, because we're using pencils, because I love the watercolor effect pencils to press give.
Okay. I was going to ask about that, because it did have, I thought, I'm not a artist, but I did think, like, are these colored pencils? Like, colors over pencils? And
if you scroll up, you scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see, keep going down a little bit, you'll see the lair. And I love this panel right here with Brian Miller's colors, because where Hotaro is being held is the catacombs of Roosevelt Island, and it's illuminated by thousands of Japanese lanterns. And within, you see all these weapons and things like that. You see that skeleton hanging in Shibari. Is that all of these weapons and lanterns? There's, in Japanese mythology, samurai weapons, lanterns are really vessels to hold the spirits of their former owners. Or even in a lamp's case, that lantern's case is where wanton spirits, wayward spirits go to. And so there's all ghosts in there. There's a ghost battle, while there's a battle on Earth and in heaven as well, and or in the celestial plane. It's cool. But I use this cover. Now, you're too young to know this, Clint, but when we were young, we had model kits, Aurora model kits, the horror kits Frankenstein's monster,
Okay.
Dracula, the Wolfman, the Forgotten Prisoner, and I sent the cover box of James Bana's art to Brian Miller to capture the feeling of, that's what I want the look of the of his lair to look like, of the catacombs. So cool, just fun stuff,
Nice.
you know, fun stuff.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, the art is top notch. I like again, you kind of get that watercolor feel. And that I don't know, I think it really works for the story, especially with the kind of samurai feel. And I don't know, it was fun. Lots of really cool action too is another thing, again, like I loved about it. But it's got me asking questions, because it's like, you know, toward the beginning they go to the prison. I'm sure some of these questions will be answered in did you say you're releasing an omnibus of the old series? Is that?
Yes. Yes. Oh yeah. That's okay. So basically our publishing plan for 2021 and into 2020 into 2021 is that we have Shihotaro right here. Again, aside from these pages I have to finish, because I was looking at it, and as we were talking, that Anna's whole motivation is to save her daughter at the end. And I felt with Stephen Peros, my writer, the scripter, we had a big conversation over the past couple of days about, you know, there's just not that sense of urgency, or Anna just wanting to protect her daughter and get the hell out of there. That's basically it. So we figured out a way to redraw. And I'm like, he's like, well, if you redraw this panel, you redraw that. I'm like, frig it, I'll just redraw the pages. So, but aside from that, we are in a very good position, because this book is scheduled to ship in April. Our plan is for this book to be colored, completely colored and lettered by Christmas. Get the proofs from API the week between Christmas and New Year's, if they're open, or early January, and then go right to press as soon as it's in January, and start to fulfill that book in February, and then we could launch our next Indiegogo, which will be the 464 page She Omnibus Volume 1, which is the Way of the Warrior story and the Tomo story, which will give you the backstory of everything that's going on now. And then I start drawing next month. I start in a few weeks, I guess a week and a half too, because I have to do 2 covers. I start drawing She Gatecrasher, which I will be talking to you about, Clint, in the coming weeks. But She Gatecrasher, which is written by J.C. Vaughn and illustrated by me and Gardenia Lima and colored by Brian Miller, is going to be the Destroy All Monsters of independent comics.
Oh, cool!
And I want to call in some favors and showcase some fantastic independent creators. And that's a May book. So I'll be drawing my May book in December and January. So by the time we launch Gatecrasher, She Gatecrasher, that book will be completely done. As is our omnibus is completely done. I mean, we got to put together, but all the files are there.
Yeah.
And then we launch with the end of the trilogy of She Haikyo, Way of the Warrior, which the working title right now is Hotaru, but I'll probably change that. And then that is our August book. And that book will be done before we launch that. And then we end the year in October with our last campaign, which will be Zombie Sama 2, Dorm of the Dead, and of course the omnibus of the Return of the Warrior omnibus. So it's gonna be a fun year, busy year.
Busy year, but it's cool. I love that you have the books almost finished when you go to that. I want to get there. That's what I'm working on. Like my next book, we're almost 20 pages in, like complete, art and colors. And so it'll be fun to just, to me, that's the ideal. And I guess maybe that's how Brian Polito does things.
Yeah.
The book's finished, then you have your orders, you go to print, you get it out, and you kind of just, being a well-oiled machine like that is great.
And well, Clint, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what we did back in the day. Now I love these beautiful. I love the European. I was on Mandy's show earlier, and we were talking about the European model, like what Ethan does, what Dan's doing, Frag is doing, what John does, and have these beautiful books. A 1-year campaign, and to put out this, it's stunning, high end premium. You know what I mean? Work of art. I don't think I think I'm too ADD to do that. I have to get the book done and go on to the next one, you know?
I totally get that. I don't know, you get excited about a story, you work on the story,
Yeah.
and then it's like you got another idea. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I got to do this idea, and then you're passionate about the next one. And
Yep.
so,
While you're trying to finish the other one, and that's where it really gets to you is when you sit down and you're drawing leaves on a tree, or windows in the building behind it. I mean, you work with Charlie, and I think he's he is the top 5 artists working in comics today.
He's so good,
astonishingly good.
Yeah, I don't even understand how good he is, but I would see it, and it's just alive, in fact, I love your art, Billy. You're one of those that I just love your art. I'm trying to remember what article it was. I was reading an article, I made a video on it, and they had a random picture of Justice League or something, and I was like, this is a cool image, and then I look at the bottom and it said artist Billy Tucci. I was like, oh, well, it was you probably know what it is, but it was like had all the DC superheroes, and it had like the crashing waves and kind of.
Oh my God, that's a funny. If you got a minute, I'll tell that story.
Yeah, dude.
All right, let me find it. It was Justice League number 15.
Is that it? Yeah.
Unless you want to pull up, I think I could share it.
No, you're good. While you're doing that, I got to remind everybody on Indiegogo right now. If you don't have the first one, no big deal. Put it as an add-on, get the first one and the second one, and you'll be reading the book this spring. Like this book's almost finished.
Yeah.
This
winter, before spring is May, is March 21st. Nah, man, we gotta get that book out before that.
Winter time. It's coming. If you have backed it, what you can do to help Billy out is just spread the word. That's huge, and that can't be understated how much of a help that is. So
it really is. It would be. And again, I as we talk, Clint, I'm so used to doing, having our show with the Pop XP, and I love highlighting everyone's books and stuff. But we got to highlight our own, our own stuff, and everyone's put so much into this book, and it's an important book for me, because this is what helps us carry on. And if you guys could support us, I'd be so happy. And my goal is to beat our last campaign. Now, our last campaign was a year long, so this campaign is going to be. See if I can make that bigger. This campaign is going to be 3 months. Now, I know we can, but if who knows? Hopefully, we can get closer to it, and we can get to fulfill our other books, because these books pay for the follow-up books.
Yeah,
and we want to smash it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I want to beat the last book. Now, the thing with Return of the Warrior, we did $201,000 on it. That
total.
That was a year-long campaign, though.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, oh boy. But who knows? As long as it does well, right, and we can afford to continue publishing it.
Yeah. No, keep pushing it, and I really think with it going to print, you get a couple boosts at different points in the campaign. Yes, this is exactly the piece.
Yeah, and it's a little cut off. So here's a funny story. So they asked me to do a cover for this book, and they wanted it to be that the Justice League is standing there on the foot of the, and a lot of it's cut off though, at the foot of the New York Public Library, and Batman's holding a child, and this giant wave is come crashing in on them. So then I get a message from the editor say, listen, and they approved the sketch, my rough, they approved it. I started working on it, and they said, listen, can we change that, because we have every one of our covers has the hero standing there ready to fight something or waiting for something to come. Can we have some kind of action? Like, well, what kind of action do you want? And he said, I don't know. We were thinking that the wave has swamped New York City, and now they're drowning. So I'm like, wait a minute, Aquaman's drowning? Superman's drowning? I guess I could, and yeah, no, you're right about that. That wouldn't make any sense. Well, can you have them fighting the wave? I said, Oh yeah, I could do that. So he said, I said, well, what about Batman? No, let's still have Batman holding the kid. I'm like, okay. So here's basically the story, because I wanted to use Hokusai's The Great Wave off of Kanakawa.
Yeah.
And here they are fighting. So there you see Superman punching the wave. And Batman's still holding the kid. And I think it won like whatever one of the awards was, the comic, I don't know, it was Newsarama or CBR. It won cover of the month of all the comic covers. This was everyone's favorite cover. And I'm like, wow, it's kind of a joke.
It's striking though, like the art style itself. I don't know. I'm not very good at explaining it, but when I saw it, I was like, that's a cool cover. It's different. It's reminiscent again of what's it called? The Wave? Is that the
Great Wave off
the Great Wave?
Kanakawa. And I think, let me see who colored it. If I zoom in, it might have been Brian Miller. I think it was Brian Miller of High Five colored it. And he's the one who's coloring our books now. I've been very fortunate to work with Brian Miller, High Five, with Paul Mounts, with Wes Hartman, amazing artists, and they're really the ones that make us look good.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really dig it. I had to see this comment here. Resident antagonist says Clint, real Clint, not clone Clint. I just realized you've probably now spoken to as many 90s comics pros as any Wizard magazine writer. You might be right. I put my hat into the ring.
Yeah, the 90s were crazy. Wow. I mean, it was a lot of fun, man. We had so much fun, and we were like in our 20s, and we were just steamrolling. It was, especially us indie guys,
Yeah.
I was out selling, I mean, for a couple of months there, for 95, 96, 97, for specific months, you have a book. We were out selling every single DC comic.
Every single
one of them. It was great, man. It was a lot of fun.
So tell me a little bit. This is always fascinating to me, is how you got into comics. And I used to say breaking into comics, but now it's kind of, especially in the world of indie comics, it's like you're just doing it, I guess, as opposed
to. Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how. When I graduated, I loved comics as a kid. I loved comics through elementary school into junior high school. And then the better artists I got, and I played hockey too, though. That took up a lot of my time. That was, I played hockey and I rode dirt bikes. But I loved comics, and, before girls get and all. But what pushed me away from comics, Clint, is that I started to get better as an artist. And I thought about wanting to be an artist for a career. Sorry, let me shut my light up. And I then realized that looking at Dave Stevens, George Perez, John Romita Jr., Frank Miller, these amazing artists, and Joe Kubert, and then realizing I could never do this. I could never be as good as these guys. So it really was, it pushed me away, because it was like, oh, I love this so much, but I can't do this. And then I was in college, in art college. I went to school for illustration. One of my friends, the classmates, brought in Amazing Spider-Man number 300. And that was that classic Todd McFarlane cover in the circle. And I was like, what is this? And I looked at it, and Todd's style was so unconventional, so different than anyone else's stuff that I grew up with, and he played with anatomy. He didn't care. Perspective was off.
Yeah.
And then the other guys followed, like Rob Liefeld followed. And I'm like, oh, if these guys could do it, I can do this. This is great. This is it, different. And that's when I started to want to really start seriously considering to make comic books. And the year after I graduated, I was working at Macy's designing children's clothes. And I started to build my portfolio to make comic books. And I wanted to work for Marvel and DC like everyone else. And I went to San Diego Comic-Con in 1993, and I got rejected by everyone. The only person that didn't reject me pro was Brian Pulido. And Brian Pulido was there in small press. He had a 6-foot table, tiny table, with Stephen Hughes and Jason Jensen, the colorist. And he treated me like a peer, like a fellow creator, and offered me a pinup in his comic that was coming out next year, which ended up being the Lady That Swimsuit issue. And I came and I'm like, you do your own. So, what do you do? He's like, well, I make my own comic. And just talking to Brian. And I remember getting on the plane. I was dejected at first. And then I remember going up into the top on the plane and pulling out my portfolio, which was just sheet pages. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own damn comic book. Frig these people. I'm going to beat these guys. I'm going to outsell those guys. And when the next year San Diego Comic-Con, I could show the video. We were the bells of the ball. I got to show you this video. It's funny if you don't mind me sharing.
Yeah, let's do it. So 1 year from getting rejections to outselling and eating their lunch.
Yep. And we were not selling them yet, but we were the hottest book in the country.
Yeah.
We ended up. They ended up moving us, me and our booth, our She booth, our Crusade Comics booth, and the Chaos Comics booth to the autograph area with the celebrities. They put us right next to Shatner.
Wow.
And he's like, what are you guys? I'm like, oh my God, Mr. Shatner. Like, I made a little comic book. But if I go to my own page, let me go to
that's funny.
Let's see, Billy. It's San Diego. And you'll see my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. San Diego Comic-Con.
That's such a great story, man.
Yeah, we ended up getting on E! News Network. And this is NBC in San Diego coverage. So let me pause it real quick. Up, dang it. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay, I just backed it. I had to decide I was deciding on which cover I wanted, but I got it. So we're good.
You.
No, I'm happy to.
Yeah, so here is us talking about the whole Bad Girl movie. It had just started. Well, we started it really. And if I play this right, if I can, if you don't mind sharing it, Clint, I'll go live. I'll expand it.
Did you click the audio button? You remember to do that?
To share
audio.
Yes,
that's always what gets me every time.
Yeah, I forget about that too. So share screen, right? I go to share screen, share audio. Let's click that. Okay, here we go. Thank you, my friend.
No problem.
Yeah, I was on Mandy's show and I shared my video, and I don't think I shared the music, and that was the best freaking part of my Child Is Born trailer. If you don't mind, I can share that later. But all right, so here we go. And here we go. You ready? This is a trip down memory lane, folks. San Diego Comic-Con 26 years ago. Here we go.
From KNSD, Denise Yamada, Roland Smith, and Joe Lazaro Weather. KNSD First News at 4.
Hello, everyone. I'm Margaret Radford, in for Denise Yamada. As Move Over Superman, it no longer takes a male superhero to knock down the enemy. We visited the San Diego Comic Convention today and found that more and more comic heroes have brawn, brains, and breath. The comic convention always draws a crowd. People can't wait to get their hands on Superman, Spider-Man, and She. She? Her name means death in Japanese, and she's hot.
But she's not a bimbo. She has intelligence. She has depth. She does not have the balloon boobs and the overly curvaceous body. She's realistic.
Some people might dispute that, but the fact is, readers love her. And a growing number of fit and mighty don't mess with me powerhouses.
Oh yeah, I like tougher women, I'm not explaining like more independent type women.
The independence of them, because they don't need a man to bring them through everything. So.
Lady Death certainly doesn't need a man to help her solve problems. In one obvious way, she stands out from the others.
Yeah, very well endowed. Very much so. We hear everything from, does Lady Death's back hurt, and all sorts of other rude things. But once they read the story, they realize that she's very cool and she's more than a breast or two breasts or just one big huge one.
The stories are very well written, and they give them a brain and things that weren't there 20 years ago. But they still the sex is there because sex sells.
But their creators, nearly all men, deny practicing a sex sells strategy.
She does show skin, but I think tastefully. I mean, I'm going to keep the comic book tasteful.
Personally, that there's nothing more beautiful in the whole world than the female
There he
form.
is.
Wonder Woman has kept her form for some 50-some years, but some things never change. Teen boys are the primary readers of comic books, and many don't really like girls.
I think that there is a little bit more acceptance for female heroes than there was, but still it's not an equivalent balance. I think it's reflective of our readership and sometimes of our creative pool, still being primarily male.
Then again, Superman never had a swimsuit issue, and Lady Death does. The San Diego Comic Convention runs through Sunday at the San Diego Convention Center.
There you go.
I love that.
And you see my wife, and just we were like kings, man. we weren't kings. We were outlaws, man. We came in there, and it's what's happening today. On Indiegogo, and with this independent movement, with Comicsgate and all, it's this outlaw movement of people just putting out great books that they believe in. And whether you be a social justice warrior, whether you be a Comicsgater, who cares? Make your books, man. Make great books, sell them to the audience, and give them and give the audience what they want. And the cool thing now is that we are being held accountable by the fans directly. They'll tell you, right? I mean, right, Clint? They'll tell you how they feel about the book, and they'll vote with their dollars. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got to say, it's when you were saying you were outselling DC Comics, it's crazy, because I think now with crowdfunding, where things have moved that direction, you're still seeing independent guys. I know for a fact that I've outsold, like Fatal, for example, has outsold many comic book pros campaigns. So it is like it's the wild west of indie comics. The other thing that cracks me up is it must kill you now when you hear people saying like female superheroes are finally getting their due, or they people that aren't really reading comics or whatever. Hey, did you hear there's a female Thor now? Finally, it's come. And then you look back at this old video from the 90s.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I sold 3.5 million comics with a female and protagonist. What are you talking about? And it's funny because Adam Post, my buddy, before I knew I was going to do my own comic, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to do it. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll get a publisher. I'll get somebody to publish it for me. So I went and I met Adam Post. And he tells this story all the time. And I showed Adam She, and he's like, wow, this is really interesting. But you know what? Girl books don't sell. So he rejected me, turned me down. And then I'm like, well, shit, everyone's turning me down. I apologize for cursing. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make my own damn book. Now I can publish this. My friend Brian, my new friend I met at San Diego Comic-Con, he's making his book. I'm going to make my own damn book. Yeah. And when you know it, holy crap, it exploded, man.
It was probably the nicest thing that Adam Post ever did, though. Really, because you own it.
Yeah. Can you only imagine? And I think Triumph, Defiant turned me down, and they said, or whoever, I think it was Defiant or some other company, and like, well, we could publish it, but we will be co-owners of it, and you start getting royalties after 50,000 copies. And I'm like, what? Get out of here. The hell with that. Yeah, it's all right. Goodbye. And then I remember sitting talking to my wife, like, I can do this. She's like, you can do this. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had no idea. And, but, we picked it up real quick. I published over 100 comics. I think, she's close to 100 comics, more, maybe 200 books I published in that decade or so. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun, man. It was. And I feel like this now. I feel like it's 20 years ago because I feel reinvigorated. I'm working 12, 16 hours a day, but I love it. I'm up here and you're doing your own thing. Clint, you're working on your own creation. And there's nothing better in the world than when someone comes up to you at a con or some place and hands you a copy of your book and asks you to sign it. And they bought it, and they say thank you. Like, no, thank you. You bought this. You bought my book.
I can only imagine. I cannot wait. That's one thing I had everything planned. I was gonna go do a convention. I was gonna meet up with Peter Smetti and all the Alterna guys, and go do a convention. And then COVID happened, and no conventions.
Go.
Oh gosh, was it Plastic City Comic Con? It was one that they highly recommended, and they're like, oh, it's over here. I'm, I'm in Utah, so
Yeah,
there is a convention out here, but I was like, I want to go where there are guys that can show me the ropes, you know. So I thought I'll go out there, you know. So
Well, it's cool because my first convention was Chicago Comic-Con, and that was a big show, and we got slammed. And I remember Debbie had to work, and she flew in. I got the Thursday set up. I'm like, well, we need a booth. So I had to buy a booth and all this stuff. I mean, we did this probably in 48 hours. I had a booth shipped to Chicago for the Chicago Con. And I'm sitting there, and I think it was Jeff Smith's wife, Vijaya, and she's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah. And she sees me setting up, and I think they helped me. And then I became fast friends with Jeff Smith and Vijaya. And then Jeff and Vijaya introduced us to all the other independent people like Bat and Lash, and of course, Terry Moore and Robin. And we were Don Simpson, Stan Sakai, and they accepted me into this fold of independent, creator-owned books of independent creators. And of course, Brian and Fran were also our best friends. And but they were their own rock. They were like rock and roll. I think they scared everybody else. You know, they didn't care. There was no F's given with the K. And still to this day, you look at Brian does. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
I remember Ethan.
That's his brand, you know.
Oh, he's an outlaw. You know, same thing with me, man. I'm a Ronin. You know, I'm an outlaw, man, and masterless samurai. And I remember Brian we were at New York Comic Con last year, and Ethan showed up, and a lot of people are saying, and he just walked up, and of course I saw him, give him a big hug, and Brian too, and he's like, well, to Brian, he's like, well, a lot of people. You don't like me, you feel weird, uncomfortable talking to me. Brian's like, I don't give an F. I don't care. Who's going to say something to me? Who's going to say anything to me?
Right. Yeah.
Because they've known each other for so long too. And it was cool. It's amazing how Brian and I have become like the grown-ups of the industry.
I know, isn't it?
We're all these whiny crybabies and stuff, and we're like the only one of the few of the old guard.
You must have so many comic book pros that just look at you enviously, maybe sometimes, or like, how is he doing what he's doing with crowdfunding at you, paving your own way? I guarantee you people are looking at you.
Dude, they call me. I can't say. I promise. They've called me, and you've heard Ethan talk about it and stuff, and like, how'd you do this? I want to do this. And these are big name guys.
Yeah.
But the big name guys are working on books that are selling. These top books are selling 35,000 copies. Yeah. And I'm like, you can do this. I remember talking last Halloween, not this past Halloween, last year with Sean Gordon Murphy. We're at a convention. It was me, Jimmy, Amanda Frank Thierry, Dan Fraga, and we were talking to Sean Murphy. And Sean's like, I got this book. I'm like, dude, do it. You do it. You're gonna kill with it. You're gonna kill with it. And he wanted to do Indiegogo. I'm like, Indiegogo's great, man. Go with Indiegogo. They're very creator friendly. They respect the comics. I mean, that they'll push you ahead. They'll really back you up. And look what he did. The guy did what, almost $250,000.
Yeah, it was a very successful campaign.
Good for him, man.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know. It is cool, and I like it as it works on a few different levels. So for those guys out there that are like, yeah, well, Billy can do it because he's an established pro. The thing is, Billy did it not at the face of people saying no, rejection letters. He did it in the 90s. And right now, it's a great time to do it. It really is an equalizer. You get on live streams, you get on social media, however it works, and you get scrappy and you make it happen. So I'm curious. I interviewed Kevin Eastman a little bit about him starting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's always interesting to me, like when you're just starting. I'm curious with how did you start selling books? Were you like selling them out of the trunk of the car? Did you get distribution?
Dude, yes. So what happened with us is that we went through it's a crazy story, but I had met these two New Zealand brothers at the Kinko's in New York City. They had rented up the top floor of this building, which the Kinko's was in, and they had a company, and they were going to partner with me on the book. So basically, I was there. I would go to their office. I lived in Queens. I'd go to Manhattan every day, and I'd be drawing the comics and creating my comic. But really, what I was doing was being an unpaid secretary for them, because I was at the secretary desk drawing away, answering the phones for them. And I remember it got to a point where things weren't working out with them. And when it came time to, I solicited She, through Diamond, through Heroes World, and through Capital City, the 3 main distributors at the time. And I wrote up this nice, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. My wife, Deborah, wrote up this letter as Deborah Steffens, that's her maiden name, the director of marketing for Crusade Comics, this new comic company, or his Empire Publication. It was called Empire Publications. Then it comes time to pay the bill for the advertising. After I put all this stuff together, I build the ads. I never knew how to make an ad. I put it all together. Peter Gutierrez, my writing partner at the time, was writing this with me. And I remember getting into a row with them, like, listen, we have to pay the $4,000 we owe these guys for the ads for She, number one. And the one guy said, Billy, if you with his New Zealand outlet, he's like, you're out of your fucking mind if you think I'm going to pay $4,000 to advertise a comic book. And that was it. And I just walked. And then they threatened to, they wanted to own half the character, that they would own half the intellectual property. My wife's aunt worked for one of the biggest lawyers in Manhattan. And we got the lawyers in, and that was basically it. But if you see the first 3 issues of She, it says produced by Crusade Entertainment. It was my company, Crusade Fine Arts, and this other company's name. And that was it. Just to give them the credit they do it. But so now this is what happens is that I get the numbers come in and they're good. We had 37,000 orders to print this comic.
Wow.
For Diamond would not release the numbers. 28,000 of that was from Diamond. I had to get the money. So I went to some friends and some of my mother's business associates. We're Sicilian, and my mother grew up my family's in the garment industry. So I had to go get some money for people. And I did it
pre-crowdfunding.
Yeah, and to pay the $4,000. And well, we did it. And Diamond released the numbers. And the thing was too is that Diamond is saying, listen, we can't give you the money until you pay for this ad. We're gonna have to cancel the book. And maybe 6 months, you should restart in 6 months. I'm like, no, this book's got to go now. I just knew the time was right for this book. I just knew that something was happening. I knew that I knew that it was something special, and I was enthusiastic about it. And my enthusiasm was contagious because I was at a local printer out here on Long Island and getting the color separations done with no money. And in walked Fred Pierce, who was then the publisher or the president of Valiant Comics. And Fred loved the book, loved me, and said, I'll vouch for him. And he called Spartan Printing and said, print this kid's book. I will personally vouch for it.
Yeah,
and we printed 50,000 copies because we had 37,000 copies. Again, I had made ads. I made them think I was a big company. Shit, wouldn't you know it, the book was returnable because I had advertised it with a glow-in-the-dark cover, something I've always wanted to do.
Which you've done right here.
Yeah, finally I get to do the glow-in-the-dark cover. And believe it or not, the glow-in-the-dark cover is cheaper than the hardcover, but it costs way more than the hardcover to make. But I don't care. I just wanted a glow-in-the-dark cover. And I haven't seen one since the 1992 Ghost Rider cover by Mark Teixeira. So I get in touch with the printer to do the glow-in-the-dark cover, and I advertise it with a glow-in-the-dark cover. I didn't know anything about glow. I didn't know. I'm like, I guess you need a cool cover. I'll do glow-in-the-dark. Because I just loved it from a kid, Well, when I ordered the book in January and they order this stuff, by the time it goes to print in February, I think it was February, early March, the glow-in-the-dark print is now stricken from the United States. It's toxic ink from China, and they can't use it.
Kids are eating the cover.
Yes, so I had to make the book returnable. And the book ships, 37,000 copies ship out. We get 1,000 copies returned. However, within 3 weeks of that book shipping, we had reorders of over 144,000 comics.
Holy cow.
And I had to stop it. I probably could have sold 500,000 of them. But what I did was I made the book. I said, that's it. There's only 50,000 of them. That's it. So it made the book that much more. And another thing I did was that the book's a bi-monthly book, but I didn't. So the book was a March book. You would think that I would solicit for May. I didn't solicit the next book, issue number 2 for May. I solicited it for June. So when issue number 1 hit the stands and people had it in their hands, that's when they go to order the second issue. So our second issue number 2, numbers went from issue number 1 was 37,000. Issue number 2's numbers were 80,000.
Wow.
We sold more number 2s than number 1. And then it just kept going from there.
So those number 1s have got to be worth money. I haven't looked up
I don't
anything.
know. I don't know if they are. You know,
I would imagine.
I've seen $20, $25, some people, but they once we brought She back though, they seem to be up worth a lot more now.
Oh yeah, it draws more interest in it. That's so cool. Did you like when you're doing this? Did you have like a moment where you're like, I did it, or does it you end up getting caught up in? Okay, well now we got to do the next one, and it just the work. I find myself doing that.
Yeah, it just became it was all about the work because you're still, you know, like with this campaign. Thank God it's doing so well, but I was terrified. You know, will it do well? You know, right now we're ahead of the last one's pace, which is fantastic. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope it does well. I don't know. You know, you get nervous if the people are going to remember it, people are going to care.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you know, our backers are coming back, which is great. And it is. And but it is all about the work because again, right now we're working on comics, you know, like story wise, and you know, we scheduled the books for 2022 into 2023. You know, the whole, you know, I'm going back to my publishing plan and doing what I did back in the day when everyone told me I was crazy and everyone told me I couldn't do it. I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah,
I can do it. And it's going to be a success. I'm going to beat you. So if anyone out there can help pledge for this book, I want it to outsell the next one. So we can get little Bodhi here, if I may show you. I have my Daruma doll, Bodhi. If when we launched She, Return of the Warrior, I had his brother, which was Bodhi. This is a Daruma doll. Now a Daruma doll is a thing it's a festival in Japan that here it is. They come in all shapes and sizes. And what it is, it's based on a Indian priest named Bodhihara. And Bodhihara went to China and prayed in a temple for 12 years and achieved enlightenment. So now the whole point with it starts in December every year in Japan, and it goes to March. And what it is that the Japanese people, they have tiny ones, there's giant ones, there's a big one like this, is that you have 2 blank eyes and you fill one in when you make a goal. So, and then when you achieve that goal, you fill the other one in. And because his brother was Bodhi, this guy's name is Johnny Utah. So,
all right.
so that's it. So I want to fill in his eye. I have a goal in my head of what we can do by come March, you know, when we launch the She Omnibus edition, and then we'll fill him in.
Absolutely. I love that. So I just checked out your campaign. You made a little jump up. Now you're 51,831.
Thank you, Clint.
It would be great to see it hit 52,000.
Yeah.
That story is so inspiring too. When I hear that, and then you've done it again too, is the thing. Basically, you got She going again. You got an immense amount of interest, and I don't know if a few things along the way that really worked, you know, and I've got to just say like some comparisons, but it's interesting because you do a lot of work, but you also get those people that give you a shot. Like you said, the publisher of Valiant that vouched for you. I even think, you know, when I was going, I've got to say, Ethan Van Sciver gave me a shout out, you know, when I was just going in, and that was such a, you know, leg up. I think you get these little moments that just help. And at the end of the day, though, it's backers, readers, people that are actually getting the book, that they're the ones greenlighting you to do, you know, a glow in the dark cover, for example. That's so cool that you're doing it now.
Yeah. And the thing about Ethan, like I said, Ethan, of all of my I've been friends with, and a few of them had me on. You know, Doug had me on. Trying to think who else. Not many, but Ethan reached out to me and said, "Well, you want to come on the show?" And again, he was like, "Well, I got to tell you, Billy, you know, a lot of people." I'm like, "I don't give a shit, you know. There ain't no one canceling me, you know." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll be on your show. I'd love to. I love the guy for 20 plus years, and he was a huge help for us He's offered I will be going on his show too. But I think I went on his show, and I think I made the night we launched the She Return of the Warrior. Yeah. I think I made $10,000 in like 2 hours.
I know that I was watching that whole stream, and
and I'm like, oh, and my eyes bugged out of my head. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, holy crap, what is going on here? And it was and we had so much fun, and just a what a great guy. I love him.
Yeah, there are a few moments I've seen like that with crowdfunding, and yours is probably the one that sticks out the most. There are probably a few other campaigns that just, I even think Cecil with Cash Grab, it was so memorable because I launched Downcast too that exact same day, but it just climbed and climbed. And with She, that was one, it was so fun to watch that stream just because it was like a rocket ship. It was so fun.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the cool thing about Cecil, Cecil's got a full-time job, and then he comes and he's literally working like every night. He was live every night.
Yeah.
And he's just talking it up, having fun, being a cool dude, and just I gotta tell that story. I will tell that story. And just and well deserved. It really was. You got to push it. You got to work it. You got to promote your books, and be a good person. Be entertaining and be a good person, and enjoy what you love. And as I said before, it happened to me in 1994. Enthusiasm is contagious, man. You're enthusiastic about a book. It's Cecil ain't got no job. So the funny story, if you bring that back up, and I see some, they go by so fast, the chats, but yes,
no, I'm trying to,
and so with it's true that Kill Bill was inspired by She, so She came out in 1994. Originally, Kill Bill came out in 2004, I think, and we had a film deal with Tia Carrera's company, and it was so Eli Samaha, Tia's husband at the time. I went into his office, and he flew me in to have a production meeting and all that, a writers meeting and all this. And he had a She statue that I had sent him. This one right here. He had the one in the back there, that She statue on his desk, next to his desk, and he had a meeting with Tarantino to help finance his stuff. He goes, "Oh my God, that's She." He goes, "I love She." He's like, "Yeah, we're making that movie, blah, blah, blah." And, Tarantino's a huge comics fan. And, if you look at the Orana Ishii, or Oraya Ishii, whatever the character's name, it's a hell of a lot like the She story.
Well, so that's a little troubling though, too, isn't it? Because
there's some very big, for those of you that know She history or She lore, there's a shark attack coming at the end of She that is, and I don't even know I talked about this. I'll tell on your show. That is She history, universe, earth-shaking, changing, complete changing. So it's all of the last page of the 52 pages of Haikyuu. So
nice. I'm
so
excited.
She was not. No, it's the other way around.
We're talking about 10 years ish difference. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. He sold 3 million books in that time. So if he's a comics fan, he was aware of it. Lucy Liu. Yep.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh man, that's exciting. I really appreciate you telling your story. I love always hearing the stories, but that's, to me, one of the more inspiring ones, because it's like, I just did it.
We did it. Yeah, and the cool thing is I was living in this 1-bedroom apartment. I was 6 months behind in my rent. My landlord, Albert Chang, he was such a great guy, and he's like, "Billy, I believe in you." I'm like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Chang, but I had gotten I had designed children clothes for Macy's, and then I moved up to a better job at another place, and they went out of business. So I was struggling doing freelance work. If you ever saw Betty Boop on the Harley Davidson on the motor, that's me. I designed that. And Betty Boop is a mermaid with long hair. I designed that. It's on shirts and stickers and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but it was so cool because having no money for so long, for like a year, 2 years, but it gave me that opportunity to throw myself into the project and I was just working like I'm working now, like we do. You know, you just keep working and working, but it's a good type of work. It's inspiring. It's self-sufficient in a way. Your own passion fuels you, and it strives you even further. And it's not exhausting. It's exhilarating.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this. And you can't get that even with Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion that I did working with the actual veterans of the battle, which was, you know, my dream project. But it pales in comparison to doing your own create your own book.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever the hell you want, right?
Yeah.
That's the cool part.
Yeah, and it's for you. Like, you know, the fact that you're able to go back to this character years later and add more, or, you know, publish an omnibus later down the road. I'm really looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah.
But
that's coming out, our big omnibus for The Way of the Warrior, the first 16 issues, which include the Tomo series, which was written by Dan Mishkin and illustrated by Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti. That is our March book, March release. And that book will be done. I want to get a figure of our numbers, and I'd love to go to press while the campaign's going. But we'll see. Great. Now, depending on how well this campaign does, if this campaign matches last campaign, I'll be able to print that book even before we start it.
Yeah,
I'll print 1,000 copies.
Yeah, I was like, make sure you got them enough.
What?
Make sure you don't run out of copies.
Yeah, well, imagine selling 1,000 omnibuses at whatever $60 each. That would be pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
But I, you know, that's my goal. Is if this campaign does well enough, and we can hit a big number like that, upper six figures, maybe 200. Like I said, the last book was 201,000. I will be able to print in January, in February, the omnibus edition, have that book by the time I launch. And while the campaign's going on, we could be fulfilling for that campaign. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it all depends on how well this book does. Because I don't have the money to do it now without it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's that's one of the beauties of crowdfunding. It gets you money to do those big print runs, which can be expensive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And those the stretch goals, they're not cheap either. We're doing our $55,000 stretch goal is where is it? We're doing here it is. We're doing a silver metallic trading card like the Zombie Sama one. This is our Zombie Sama card. It's a beautiful card. It's got this incredible sheen on it, and it's stunning. So that's but this is the Zombie Sama one. We're doing the She one.
Yeah.
But I see. Well, that's why I had the light, because if you see it, it doesn't really. I got to brighten this light. It really doesn't do it justice. That's why I was hitting this light.
Yeah. Well, I got some of those. Are they the same print that's in the She campaign? Those same cards that have the, I don't even know. It's kind of foily.
Yeah, those are silver metallic. Yep, those are silver metallic cards, and you can see them. You can see our bonus card, which is just a regular trading card, and those silver metallic cards. But oh my god, they were so expensive to make. It was so expensive. That's why we're only doing for the special for the gold metallic. Which is even more than the silver. These are only going to be for threshold numbers.
Yeah.
So but I'm like, let's do 55,000. Let's get this one out there. But we got stickers planned and patches and magnets. Even my duck stick we're planning on doing, whether Deborah wants me to or not. The duck stick. Here.
It's a stick with a duck head.
It's a stick with a duck head. Yeah, it's the duck stick. We're gonna do a duck stick sticker. So he's someone that we bought. My wife and I were in Hoboken, New Jersey, where she lived after college, and we were walking at this street festival. And I saw this, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
His eyeballs are protruding.
Yes, my wife despises. And the duck stick was in She Return of the Warrior. See if you could find it, Clint.
Oh,
but it's also in She Haikyo. In every single Crusade Comics issue from here on in, the duck stick will make an appearance.
I love that idea.
Hashtag save the duck stick.
Okay, I'm gonna be scouring the book.
Lord Ravener says hail the duck stick, and Lord Ravener is actually he's in the chat right now. And hey, doing buddy, he is one of our backers who's actually going to be now forever immortalized in She.
Oh
he's a character. He's got dialogue. He's on a couple of pages, and he's like a badass prison guard. So
yeah,
fun.
I love it. Placeholder says, I saw this news article. Sweetcast heard you lost your monolith in the desert out there. Yeah, apparently there's just this giant I mean, it's probably at least 12 feet tall, maybe 15 feet tall, metal, like stainless steel looking monolith in the middle of the desert out here in Utah. And people are like, is that an alien activity? Or so? I have no idea what it is, but I saw that today. Interesting.
What do you mean? They just found it? Like it's
they found it, and park officials, it was at the Red Rocks Desert.
Yeah.
Park officials went out and found it, and they were like, what's this? They didn't know what it was.
Was it standing up like in 2001: A Space Odyssey, or
standing upright? I've got to find it.
Yeah, find it and share it, because if it's steel, then it's definitely man-made.
It must be. Here I found the article. I'll let me pull this over.
And the Native Americans, they didn't have steel, so where could it be from?
Yeah, so there it is. There's one of the park workers, and I mean, yeah, it's tall. It's in the ground, I guess.
Wow.
It's I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but
now,
there it is.
Now, is this a well-traveled area, and then like it just appeared?
No, the thing is, it's remote. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. So that is a consideration. So they're wondering, how did somebody bring it out here? There's no roads. They were out there counting a mountain goat population or something like that. And then they came across this. So
if this is like artists doing this, this is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in my life.
And I've seen some interesting things like that too, where people will bring up they'll go on a big long hike, and there'll be something at the top, that for you to find, or in a cave, that people go caving on. So I don't know, maybe there's money inside of it. Maybe it's one of those geocaching things or something. And
that's so awesome.
You've got to get a key. I don't know what it is. So.
Yeah, I've hunted in the Badlands of North Dakota. And wow, I mean, was it North Dakota? I think so. South Dakota, where was I? I think it was Montana, on the edge of the Badlands of Montana. I think it was. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just like a moonscape, and all caves where where the Indians, the tribes used to live and stuff, and the cowboys would hide out, all the outlaws and stuff like that, and ambush guys. Cool.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I like to live vicariously, and I'll look up. I was doing research on caves for a book, for actually my Dracula. It's gonna be my Dracula backup story, Dracula, not the main Dracula. But I did a little research on caves, and it was crazy to me how people would go in these old mine shafts and just squeeze their bodies through these little crevices. And then they'd find all this old stuff back there, or I don't know. It's crazy. Not for me.
Terrifying too, right?
Yeah, terrifying, which is exactly what I wanted. Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
So she I wanted to say Return of the Warrior. How do you say this? I'm going to say it wrong. Haikyo.
Which means the ruins, and of course that's where, as I said, that's where the final battle takes place, at the ruins.
Okay, so I'm posting she here. Please check it out guys. I read this book. It will not disappoint. This is the first one. The only thing is I got to the end and I'm like, I need the second one, and I need it soon.
Well, you're going to get it soon.
I was going to say, Billy's been thinking in advance. He knew that would be the case. So this one is coming very soon. You'll get it this winter. You don't have to wait a full year, or, however long you think you're going to have to wait. It's not. You're going to get it this winter because it's practically finished.
Yeah.
So check that out. Also, while we're here, Fatal's on Indiegogo.
Yeah, man, let's get to 90. Come on.
We got to get to 90. It's bothering me. We're slowly, in demand. It's just a slow crawl, but we're getting really close.
One of the most beautiful comic books of the decade.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is
coming to a close, so that's a lot because we're at the end of the decade.
Yeah, it's impressive. This artwork is by Charlie Snogans. I'd put this up against anything you're going to see again.
Agreed.
It looks fantastic. Great artwork, great lettering by Eric Weathers, and I'm very, very proud of the story that I've written for this. I think people are going to like it.
I mean, we're all backing it, but everyone hates you that you got Charlie to do that book.
I know there's a little bit of that. It's kind of like I don't know. Maybe Billy, you understand this, but being the ugly one in the relationship, you ever feel like that? Like,
of course, I know that.
you know that feeling. You might be a teen sensation, but yeah, there's people are like, how did you get to work with Charlie?
Yeah,
and I'm just like, don't ask me questions because I'm a great writer. I'm a fantastic writer.
Charlie came to you.
That's right. I'm a fantastic writer, but I mean, we're all winning here, so I think it's great. But yeah, so that's open.
You know, it's cool. If I may, you got Downcast.
Oh,
You've got Fatal. Is that if you guys ever saw Band of Brothers, and the mountain, Currahee is the mountain that they would run up at Camp Currahee when they were training before the war. And Currahee means we stand alone in Choctaw. I think it's Choctaw Indian. And the cool thing is that with the paratroops, what they did is that they called it we stand alone together. And that's basically what we're like right now. This amazing community is that we are alone. We're standing alone. You're at your studio right now in Utah. I'm out here up in mine in Long Island, New York, and we're alone, but we're standing alone, but we're all together. Yeah. We're all supporting one another. Again, it is business. You want your books to do well, but there's never a second thought like you. Thank you so much, Clint. Yeah, come on my show. I mean, you're taking time away from promoting your own books to promote mine. And I appreciate it so much. And as you said, you've been on our show a couple of times. Yeah. Anytime you want, please. You got an amazing product. You're a great guy. And that's what this whole movement is. This whole new thing that's had this new golden age of comics. And it is, it's Currahee. That should be our moniker, Currahee. We stand alone together. And that's what this is. And I'm so proud to be a part of it, man. I really am.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. It's cool because you get their strength in numbers, helping each other out. Again, you build your own little corner of the internet to sort of build up and promote your stuff. But that was once you said that you were looking for people to promote your book, I was like, Billy, put me on the list because
thank you.
You've helped me out. And so I'm very, very happy to be able to highlight She. So yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you, bro. And again, you're one of the few people that have, because I sent in the chat, and all of you guys said, yes, of course we'll help you. Some of you even apologize. I've been so busy, I can't do it right now. But I'm sorry, but I will do it. None of my other comic friends, the pros and stuff that I've known for years, the mainstream, none of them have offered to help.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and you're like, all right. Like the ones that don't have shows, obviously. It's
right.
Jimmy always helps me, Brian Polito, guys like that are, my buddies. But there are a lot of ones that have shows and I have everybody on our show. Always. Right. And I reach out to them, and it kind of stinks that, well, yes, who your friends are, right, buddy?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I think there are good people out there that do help, you know what I mean? And then that makes you want to help them as well.
Yep.
And you do the best, you can with what you got. But yeah, you're exactly right. To me, I mean, I love the book. I'm not even joking. The book is excellent. People are going to love it. Beyond that, Billy, you're one of the creators out there I really, really respect. And so, you've helped me out. It's my pleasure to have you on the show. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun too. So
thank you so much.
You bet. Yeah. So check out She. I'm just showing here, going through the rounds. We got Downcast. I'm selling. If you're new to it, you can catch up on the story for as low as $35. That's the first 2 volumes. We're already 20 pages. I'm going to follow Billy in his path of getting the book done first. So this next Downcast book's going to be finished first. I think maybe I laid it on too thick. Is that what's going on here?
That's awesome.
I love it. So you can get Downcast. Fatal also. This is in production mode. Charlie's doing a fantastic job with the art. And of course, there's She. So also you can back that on Indiegogo. I'm going to refresh this. I'm curious. I don't know if it's moved yet since I last refreshed it, but it did.
Yeah, right. Look at that. $150 away for 152 or less.
Very good. Actually, I love it.
What is that? 148. Thank you guys. Thank you. Really, really appreciate this, pal.
Oh yeah, no problem. Appreciate it. And I hope everyone out there, if you don't have a YouTube channel or any kind of presence like that, you can help. Well, first by backing She, but second, I mean, just share it on social media. That really does go a long way. When I look in the back end analytics and you can see where, referrals are coming from, I'm surprised because I'll get a lot of people that I recognize their names in the chat, but they're not they don't have YouTube channels or anything. It's just from them sharing it on social media. So it really does help.
And if you guys can share it, thank you so much. I get it. If you can't back it, that's all, that's awesome. But if you guys can share it, that would be fantastic. It would really help us out a lot. I want to be in here for the long haul. So
absolutely. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream. Billy, great to have you on. We'll do it again, of course.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to come on the show when you're wrapping up, Downcast and Fatal, come back on, man.
Appreciate it.
Love having you on. You're a very interesting guest. So
thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, and we'll see you. I'll probably look for around. Hopefully, you'll be on lots of other streams.
I saw I'm backing She next week. Thank you, Ed Hart.
Right.
When is the omnibus coming out? It's coming out. We're launching it in March of 2021. 464 pages.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video tomorrow.
Bye. Good night, everybody. Thanks, guys.